Hello YouTube. This is my first video and I'm really excited to get started. Today we've got the Benchmade Freek, the 560BK-1. This is also affectionately known as the Super Freek. Let me start first with some size comparisons to get those right off the bat. This is the Manix from Spyderco, Manix 2, 20CV version from DLT Trading. And we may as well get one with the DLC coating on it next to there, which is the BHQ exclusive, CPM M4. Here's the ZT-0562. Very, very similar size knife. Very famous knife from ZT, and you can just see how it is very similarly sized. Here's the Griptilian 550-1. This is the 20 CV version. And you can notice, because the Freek has been called a Griptilian killer, and I'll tell you at the end of the video whether I think it is or not. But if you look at this, the blade shapes are a little different. The grinds are a little different. You can see on this one, this has a high flat grind right here. And this one has more of a sheep's foot, I guess, saber grind, as you can see it as it comes up to the top here. But the handles, the Freek's handle is slightly longer than the Griptilian. The blade shape, the blade length is very, very similar. Obviously, the I'll call it a Benchmade hole instead of a Spidey hole, is only available on this 550-1. The normal Griptilian does come with thumb studs, just like the Freek here. Here's a PM2. You can see very similarly sized to the PM2. Mass drop crux. As you can see, the blades are similar in size, but obviously the handle is much shorter on this one. And Benchmade 943. Now, when I first saw the Freek, the original Freek, I honestly was a little bit turned off by this blade shape. And I really like the grind. It's like a high flat grind, but the blade shape itself just was a little funky. I don't know, maybe it had something to do with the way it was positioned on the handles, or next to the rubber and black and gray handles that they had on that one. But on this one, I actually really like it, and I was kind of surprised because I wasn't expecting to. You can see the edge thickness on this. It's very, very thin, so it's going to be a very slicey knife. You can see the back. Now, I don't really do measurements. I think that you can find them listed on a lot of other websites. There's no real reason for us to do it on videos. But I do notice that a lot of people do the measurements. In any event, just some measurements off of Blade HQ. Overall length, 8.46 inches. Blade length, 3.6 inches. Blade thickness, 0.11 inches. Obviously, CPM M4 blade steel. They have the blade stylus drop point. They list the blade grind as hollow. I don't think this is a hollow grind. In fact, it looks just, like I said, like a high flat grind. But in any event, I do really like this blade. I don't think the DLC coating in any of my use, and I have used this knife quite a bit so far. As you can see, there's no real marking up, despite the fact that I have used it over and over again. The blade just wipes up very, very well, so don't worry about the DLC coating. The other thing a lot of people tend to complain about with DLC coating on the blades is that they end up catching or producing friction that makes slicing less easy. I have to say, this slices extremely well, even with the DLC coating. Now, the reason they have the DLC coating is because you have that M4 designation right there. M4, as you may know, is it's a very high-end steel, quite possibly one of the best steels. Many people do consider it the best steel that you can get. Although that there's arguments depending on what your use is. M4 is a very good hard use knife. It's even a better hard use knife for edge retention than than M390 or 204P or 20CV, which is what many people view as the best all-around steel out there. And but M4 just keeps an incredible edge on it. This is the factory edge that this has on it right now, but it does just create an incredible edge. And the reason the DLC coating is on there is because M4, unfortunately, the big drawback to it is that it will corrode. It does rust. So essentially, they put this on here to protect against rusting. Obviously, the edge can still rust, and yes, if you really don't take care of it, it can rust through the DLC coating. But for most people's everyday use, that will not create any problems whatsoever. This is an axis lock knife, which means that it is reversible, ambidextrous to either side. As you can see, there's holes cut out on this side for the pocket clip, and this is put down for right hand tip up or left hand tip up carry. There is no tip down option. This isn't really a knife that would lend itself to it anyway, and most axis lock knives are not tip down carry anyway. A lot of people complain about this pocket clip. I honestly do not have any problem with the pocket clip. You may think it looks like something, which is why people complain about it. Honestly, people need to get over themselves. This is a perfectly fine clip. It works great. Where it's positioned, the only thing you should note is that it will stick out of the pocket to about right here. This is probably the most I would want a knife sticking out of my pocket, but it's well within reason, and I don't find it to be obtrusive or problematic in most situations. Do realize that this is a 3.6-inch blade, which is a little bit unfortunate. Sorry, I hit the camera there. Which is a little bit unfortunate because for some people, not me, I live in Texas, but for some people, 3.5 inches may be a cutoff to carry something legally. And if you're going to have something over 3.5 inches, then I think it is important to really maximize, the what you're allowed to carry with the knife laws. Now, there are other knives that between the 3.5 and 4-inch mark, which is usually a cutoff for legal carry, but you can see there really is a major difference. This, for instance, is the Benchmade Contigo. It is a much bigger knife. So if you're not really prepared to carry a 4-inch knife, I do get the 3.6 inches. This is the Benchmade Crooked River, again, large knife. And this is the Microsoft Socom Elite, again, very large knife. There's just a couple of thoughts or a little bit of a side rant on knife laws. I do believe you should be able to carry whatever you want anywhere, but that is not my call. You should listen to your local knife laws. Now, let's talk about fit and finish. The fit and finish on this is excellent. Everything is completely flush. The G10 scales on this are absolutely amazing. This is actually machining. You can feel it's textured. So it provides excellent grip. This is a very grippy knife. There's no problems with grip whatsoever. You can see there's actually two types of grip here. There's the grip, sort of a checker pattern you can see over here, where it's slightly not smooth, but it's still mostly smooth. And then up top, over here, is that machining, the lines that go back and forth. those lines are grooves, and so yes, it is a very grippy knife. Now there's a lanyard hole in the back. I'm not a big fan of lanyard holes, and honestly, if they didn't have it, the pocket clip, as I was talking about before, could have been a little bit higher, but again, it is what it is. Now, I will say, and this has probably been talked about a lot, especially since the Axis lock is old enough to no longer be a patent, but I absolutely love the Axis lock. It is the fastest opening and closing mechanism that you can have for a knife. You can just, I mean, back and forth, not a problem. I like thumb studs a lot because you can Spidey flick it. You can flick it with your thumb. The Axis lock, you can hold it back, pull the knife out, or, and it's hard to do on camera, you can gravity flick it. Not even holding, I was just holding it here, you see, and then flicking it with my wrist and using gravity to pull the blade out. So I really love this knife also as a very fidgety knife. I tend to fidget a lot, so it is, fidget factor is always something that I look for in a knife, and this one has excellent fidget factor. In addition, I want to mention something. The jimping on the blade back here, there's not a lot of it, if you see. There's not a lot of it on the actual blade itself. There is some hidden nested in the scales, but it is the perfect amount of jimping. And if you look at where my thumb goes, right here, I'm moving into the ergonomics portion. If you look at where my thumb goes, it just nestles right in there so well. And you put your pointer in there, which is a design that you see on many, many knives, where there's a groove cut out right here, and then a groove for the other three fingers over here. And this is, honestly, this is one of the best ergonomic knives that I have, period. And, I've got about 25 or so knives, but this is one of the best, and I've held many others. This is one of the best ergonomic knives that I've ever held. In fact, many people love the Griptilian as an ergonomic knife, and this blows the Griptilian out of the water in ergonomics. And I may do a comparison video another time, but just with respect to ergonomics, it really blows the Griptilian out of the water. I was very surprised. Again, we were talking about the original Freek earlier. I didn't buy the original Freek. I was a little bit put off by the rubber handles. I held one in the store, and it just, something about the rubber didn't do it for me. I have seen that it sticks in people's pockets and things like that. I didn't even get that far with the knife. So again, I didn't really expect to pick this one up, but I've been pleasantly surprised with it. So we were talking about fit before. This does have, and I don't know if you can see it in there, but this has some nested liners. The liners end about right here. I don't know if you can see that. So they're not full liners, or at least the metal liners. But there's red G10 liners in here to go along with the black G10, black and gray G10 outer scales. Now, the red and black and gray pattern that you see here, one of the cool things about this knife is that it was inspired, or so I've been told, by Deadpool. And that continues over here with the barrel spacers, which are also red. And these barrel spacers they're beautiful. Now, one of the interesting things about this knife is that the carry on it, well, we were talking about the pocket clip. The carry on it does carry, it does sit a little high, but the carry on it is excellent. When you're going to go buy this, you can slide your hand back. This sits back on the side of a pants pocket, and you really can just get your hand in there, absolutely no problem. and you don't even notice it. In fact, I believe, I may be wrong here, but I believe, yep, it's not as wide as the Griptilian in some spaces. You can see up here, the Griptilian is wider in some areas. And it's definitely thinner than the Manix, although the Manix is a thick knife. But it carries, I would say it carries very similarly to a PM2. Okay, so I've pretty much talked a lot about what is good or great about this knife. Frankly, I really like this knife. If you haven't gleaned that by now, I didn't talk about blade play. There is a little side-to-side blade play. I like to, leave my axis lock knives, very fidgety. So I do loosen the pivot a little. So that may be on me. But the up and down, it's rock solid. And so there's no worries there. So the blade play is probably the only, and this is true for pretty much all axis lock knives, as far as a drawback to them. But the blade play, the side-to-side blade play, is probably the only, and it is minimal, the only thing that I would say is bad about this knife. Frankly, I really like this, and I would recommend it to just about anyone. I think it's well worth the $191.25 or so that retailers are charging. And yeah, go buy it if this is your first major, expensive knife under 200-ish knife purchase. This is an excellent purchase. In fact, this PM2 is the KnifeWorks exclusive PM2. This is also in CPM M4, and this is carbon fiber. Now, this is $212. This is $191.25. If you and some people, I may get hate for this, but some people will ask me which one of these I would recommend if you had about $200 to spend. Honestly, I would pick the Freek, the Super Freek. It's just an excellent knife. Both of those knives are excellent. You can't go wrong with either one. But for me, the Super Freek gets it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like it, please subscribe to my channel. I hope to be posting several new videos over the next couple of weeks. And please also click the bell so that you get updates on the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for listening.